Alright guys, alright. We have a patch for the EUPU 3.18.2. And I really wish they'd stop jumping backwards and forwards because I get sick of reinstalling patches. As soon as I went through and uninstalled 0.2 and went back to the 0.1 patch, they dropped the 0.2 patch again. Anyway. We also do have an update regarding the wipe situation, so I'm not going to edge you any longer than I already have. There is rumours that we will be getting a wipe for both the 3.18.1 and 0.2, and reportedly they are both full wipes, meaning you will also lose your UEC. So I believe this is it here. Hi guys, this is from Xylo. We want to do a quick update expecting an upcoming release. Our initial goal was to avoid the need of a wiper database for the upcoming patches. However, due to the current state of Alpha 3.18's database and the numerous hotfixes we've implemented, more than 50, well done, we have concluded that a couple of full wipes, UEC, items, and reputation is necessary to further improve stability and services. Now, obviously, this is not the best of news, but to be honest, if it improves the stability of the game, it's a small price to pay. And plus, if they hadn't gone through and done a full wipe now, and even if they had have managed to wait it out, we probably would have had to do a wipe on 320 or 319. So sooner the better, I suppose. The better. So for those interested what's going on under the hood, So both Alpha 3.18.1 and 2 will perform these wipes alongside a heady list of improvements and optimizations. So like I say, there is going to be a full wipe on both 0.1 and 0.2 patch. And obviously that will allow them to go through and hopefully get PES fully up and running and hopefully sort out that database issue. I presume the database at the moment is a complete mess because of all the hotfixes and all the things. And as for a guy that spends half the day coding, at the moment at least anyway, I completely understand what they're doing. To give you guys an idea, to explain. So let me go through. So the reason why they talk about doing a full wipe is this. We'll do a window capture like that and that. Okay, so this is the code for the database that I'm making. Right, so this is me going in, putting in territories and codes and stuff like that, right? And this is what it looks like. Now, obviously, the first number is just a number. Second number is the race. Third number is the ID or system, and the fourth one is the territory type. So, like for example, this is ID 1, race 2. If you come up to here. Race 2 is Zayn. I can't pronounce that. I'm going blank. System ID is 1. So then if you come down to system, systems is the Akiri system. And then obviously type 1 is, and then when you come to types, type 1 is a claimed system. So this is what a database generally will look like, right? Now, what's probably happened is that it's gone through and that this data is all corrupt and all over the shop. And instead of them having to sit there and go through and manually fix it, they're going to go through, wipe the database and reinstall it from defaults. Which is why you lose everything except what you've brought, because that's on a different database. So like for example, they've probably gone through and they've probably ran their database updates or their codes. And basically what it's done is, this is what a MySQL database looks like. Right, this is what a database looks like. So what's probably happened is, say for example, clothing. right, here's all the database items for clothing. Obviously, their database is going to be a lot more complicated, but it's the basics is the same. So here, Apollo Explorer, obviously the wearable goggles. What's probably happened is they've gone through and they've tried to keep the database running. And when they've gone through and imported this code, it's mucked this database here in the background up. And that's what they're talking about. So just to give you an idea of what's actually going on, that's what they mean. All right, so let's get back to the patch notes because that's what we're all here for. So database reset, yes, long-term persistence disabled, pledge copied enabled, starting mini is $1 million. Testing focus, general stability and bug fixes, density manager optimizations, make sure nothing disappears when it isn't supposed to, and the Xenothreat playlist. Known issue, game client may close without error or crash handler. That could be an issue because if there's no crash handler, they don't know what the error is. ASOP terminals are unusable and fade to black when accessed. That is definitely a blocker. All planet GFX, there are frequent pockets of extreme low client FPS performance in landing zones and ships. That is also an issue. Harvestable deposits may be invisible to players, causing collision or becoming unavailable for scanning, mining, or salvage gameplay. Definitely a blocker. The trams are out of sync with the station timers, causing trams to overlap and not appear on time. Not necessarily a blocker, but inconvenient. Elevators and trams are jittery. When flying near another ship, it seems to hit an invisible box that kicks in a random direction. Inconvenient, not a blocker. Cargo may be invisible to multiple ships after being purchased. Not a blocker, inconvenient. Unable to view ship's inventory through knickknacks. Not a blocker, inconvenient. When attempting to start a refinery job, players receive the following error. Code 20. Security contractor evasion is not reoffered upon failure. Both of those are just inconvenient, no blockers. Combat service beacon progress. Rating inconsistent on missions. Inconvenient, not a blocker. Security work assessment remains hostile. NPCs not spawning in. Not a blocker. PTV wheels on Horizon BTR area can clip into geometry. Not necessarily a blocker. the Snub Fighter attached to Constellation lacks interaction. Not a blocker. Some ship wreckage enormously give no material. Not a blocker. Markers will randomly disappear after quantum travel. Is not a blocker. And NPC coffee vendor is missing from the various coffee to go stalls. Not necessarily a blocker. So they have gone through and done a density manager optimization. This optimizes the values to be more aggressive for removing unneeded entities in the PTU to improve server client performance. So the values to be more aggressive for removing unneeded entities. So I'm guessing that's going to be like lab coats and like gownies and stuff like that. You know, the gowns that you get spawn in when you die. They're basically everywhere. Made further entitlement processing improvements. They updated the logic queue time display. Don't know what that is myself. And they have fixed some bugs. So there was a exploit with the Argo Raft. And this is probably why we're also getting a wipe too, was because the exploits were pretty bad. The cargo is not removed after selling and can be sold repeatedly. Active feature network. Player is given instance. Many experience a response latency of up to 12 seconds for interactions. Oh, okay. Wonder if that fixes inventory. Game code. Locations. Loot gen. Lootable containers slots are filled but streamed out, resulting in no loot in Craya. So they fixed that. Melting upgrades. A ship while the player is bed logged in that ship will put the player in a bad state. So error 330,018 can't log in. So while the player is in bed log out in that ship, will we put the player in a bad state? Okay. Xenothreat 1.1 phase 2 and 3 performance, vehicle teleporting, rubber banding during gameplay. Locations: Leo Station, Galia Audio. The Visit Horizon commercial locks up the client. What the hell is the Leo stations? Is that Pyro? I have no idea where the Leo stations are. Anyway, items, loot box. When user crashes while interacting with the loot box, it becomes unavailable to other players. That has been fixed. The derelict colony outposts. A grey box mannequin can be seen floating above the lake located outside of the outskirts of the derelict outpost. That apparently has been fixed, so no more floating mannequins. The player's model will vanish briefly when player is walking on top of the end of the section of the constellation Derelict A in the third person. So that has been fixed as well. That's from the Hurston Derelicts. Mission content, Zeta Pronoid salvage claim. Not all cargo boxes are spawning in. That has been fixed. NPC beacon. Combat assistance mission will not progress after enemy ships has been destroyed. Has been fixed. Exploit refinery. Player is able to refine material twice using 2 separate refinery processes in Kreia. Is able to. Yeah, so you could, exploit. Okay, yeah, gotcha. The MISC prospector scanning. Players are unable to scan mining deposits. That's been fixed as well. The terminals, Lawville, New Deal, and Vintage rental kiosks are missing. That has been fixed. And the ASOP terminal, I wonder if that's the actual bodies for the actual terminals, because there was the floating screen there. And the ASOP fleet manager, a non-owned player can log out in the prisoner seat and cause the Hawk to not retrieve correctly after insurance claim, which can be used to occupy all landing pads. Okay, so that was an exploit. So they fixed that. They fixed 2 client crashes and 6 server crashes. So I guess I'm installing the 0.2 patch again. But guys, yeah, apart from that, obviously at the end of the day, look, it's not a bad patch. There are still some major blockers. I would say game closing without error is a big issue because they need to know what the errors are. But things like unusable terminals and stuff like that and low FPS at the landing zones are probably the bigger blockers. But yeah, apart from that, I would expect the 0.1 to probably go live. I would say probably it's Easter this weekend, so maybe early next week to mid to late next week. And then I would expect the 0.2 patch to probably drop probably later in the month, I would say. Probably in a couple of weeks. But guys, let us know what your thoughts are in that comment section below. Obviously, this video has been helpful. Please smack that like button. If you're new to the channel, welcome and subscribe. Apart from that, guys, we'll see you in the next demonetized video from YouTube. Have a great night and enjoy.